This knife here is the Ringer. It is the design of mine, and it looks pretty nice, doesn't it? But I'm not happy with it. Not up to my expectations whatsoever. The heat treat on it is great. The performance, because I've already tested my own 1075 high carbon steels. I have batoned one of my dummy knives. Yeah, this one right here. As you can see, I've already broken it because I did some testing on it, and I actually batoned the edge onto a nail and cut the nail in half, and the edge has no damage. But of course, I snapped it on purpose to check the grain structure, and yikes, that is not nice. The grain structure is super enlarged, and that's because I probably heat treated this way too hot, so it led to grain growth. But these ones are good. I did not do any of that overheating. They are perfectly heat treated, and I've already tested on some other scrap pieces of steel. I made another one as well. This one is the RE1. This one's nice too. This one is Tokyo. And if you guys have watched my Facebook, you would know, hey, this secondary bevel at the top, why does it go all the way down now? That's because I stuffed it up. And it is not up to my expectations either. The grinds look clean from here, but if I go closer, you can see that they're not super even. Now, I may be sounding a little bit picky here, but my expectations for my first batch was to have perfectly ground knives. Now, of course, that is a pretty high expectation for a new maker. Can I still fix these? Yes, I can fix these by raising the grind a little bit higher to even things out, but I'd have to make the handle smaller because the blade will get smaller because you're essentially grinding it smaller. And my next batch will consist of one design only, and that's the second time. Then again, these so far, for my first batch of 2020, it is not too bad actually. So this here is gonna get a handle, this here is gonna get a handle, and this here is also gonna get a handle. This one's my favorite, by the way, because it's the least fucked up one. Well, I may have done some off-camera recording, but I finished the knives. So this is Tokyo. It's double-edged. Well, not really double-edged. It's got a false edge up here. It's not really how I turned out to be, or how I wanted it to be. Whoops. It's not really how I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be more of a swedge up here more than a false edge. But I mean, whatever. So I made a Kydex sheath for it, and the Kydex sheath works pretty well. It retains the knife pretty well, and I doubt this would fall out under any circumstance. I also made these two, the Ringer and RE1, and well, let's take this outside so I can show you that, alright? Test. So these took me about probably 2 weeks to make, and it didn't take me 2 weeks to actually make them. It just took me 2 weeks to finish them. That's because I had to do some stuff in between the weeks. And I've learned quite a lot making this first batch. First of all, it is not easy to make them perfectly. It's easy to make a knife, but it's a little bit more difficult to get all the little details right. There's just so many details in these that I can point out and, you know, pick apart and say of why I wouldn't be comfortable selling these. I have learned quite a lot making this first batch, and that is to always just persist and just keep trying. I have fucked these up a lot. There are so many mess ups in these knives that I can just pick apart them all day. First of all, let's talk about the first one. This one is probably the most basic one out of all of them. This is the RE1, and you see this design almost, 24/7. This is the most, by far, the simplest knife design you can come across. Just a simple drop point blade, some jimping at the top, and a big curve and finger choil there. It's just so common, and really, I'm just getting tired of it. I'm not gonna be making this in the future. This one on the other hand, the ringer, my own design, received the most attention. This is probably the most demanded one by now. I got people wanting to buy some, well, wanting me to make some, and I can see why. This is a very aggressive, you know, that modern look. I pretty much combined the Celtic style blade with the, you know, modern tactical angles to give it, you know, this unique look. I don't know if you call this unique. I know it does look unique to me and I like it. And for the front line of designs is Tokyo. Tokyo is going to be my most creative design because I figured since I am a business and this is going to be a business standpoint, production is key and this is going to be the most acceptable for production. Of course, this would be most acceptable for production, but honestly, this is just way too basic. I know people do buy these a lot, but it's just, you know, if I'm going to be unique on the market, I got to make something unique, something people are not making that much. And Tokyo is one of those knives. Now I would make, you know, the ringer. The ringer is also a pretty unique look, but the issue with this is that it just takes extra whack. You got this really deep choil here. You got this guard, which takes a bit of whack, you know, getting right too. I do love knife making, but this is slowly turning into like a really strong priority of me. And honestly, guys, if you love knife making, I don't recommend turning it into a business because sometimes it can take the fun out of it. And really, knife making, you should have fun with it. Don't stress out too much. Alright, we're literally just about to pick apart everything wrong with this knife. Okay, so starting up with RE1. RE1 is the most basic one. And honestly, I'm not too disappointed with it, except for a lot of things here that went completely south. And it's just, oh gosh. Starting off with the handle. Now the handle is fine, except this hole is a little bit more down here. I don't know how the hell that happened. It's not too noticeable, but you know, if you really pay attention, you can tell this is kind of going down. So this knife here, the blade, the heat treat on these guys is excellent, guys. They work great. They, you know, they chop, they hold a great edge. I'm really good with these guys. I heat treat them to about a softer temperature, so they're tough, but you know, kind of in between your, you know, edge holding and toughness. But I focus more on toughness because these guys will be used as tough blades rather than edge holding blades. Next up is the ringer, and first of all, you can see that the bevel here is not perfect. The bevel here is not perfect. You can see it kind of, you know, let's focus, kind of curved down there, and it's not nice. I did put a secondary bevel on this. Unlike on the other one, you can see I kind of fucked up the secondary bevel. Not nice. But I'm not good with secondary bevels yet, and I feel like every time I do one, I always mess up my project. Like, it was perfect, and then I just, you know, messed it up. And I'm not gonna sell this, so I just didn't put enough time into, you know, making it. I just didn't end up making it perfect because, you know. Next up is the least messed up one, and that's Tokyo. And Tokyo actually has a lot of mess ups too. So the edge here is not supposed to be a double edge. It's supposed to be, you know, this. And really, I like the other one better, but this doesn't look too bad. It's just not how I wanted it to be. Now the handles, next time I'm gonna make them shaped so they curve with these angles here on the plunge line. They look much aesthetically pleasing. The handle is well done. I didn't obviously, you know, clean these stuff out to push all the scratch marks forward. They are perfectly straight. The bevels are not, you know, perfect either. But hey, heat treat works, you know, they're functional. The sheath, on the other hand, as you can see, I only made a sheath for Tokyo because I didn't want to waste kydex on stuff I wasn't going to use. But I actually went through so many different styles of this sheath to get it right. Boom, I have these sheets there, which they don't look bad, but this one's the most usable one. Let me show you why. The first sheath, yeah, it looks terrible. I did the rivet locations wrong. It doesn't go in. It's just so tight because I riveted it wrong. Next up, we have this one, which I made. And this one works. You can put the knife in. but it's just loose as hell, man. It's just, I mean, well, it doesn't seem loose, but, well, actually, it's not too bad. But it's just not aesthetically pleasing to me. You can see it's kind of messed up, you know. But, and the thumb ramp is kind of far. The third sheath I made, oh gosh, this one didn't turn out well either. It just looks bad. I mean, it holds the knife, but not enough to call it, you know, a sheath. This one, on the other hand, the only thing I would change about it is, really, I love the shape. It's like a ghost, or some people would call it like an eggplant. I guess it's just the retention. The retention on it is perfect. It's never coming out by itself. It's just a little too tight here, and that causes a little bit of scuffing on the blade. They're not scratches, they're just plastic marks. Let me show you. I don't know if you see it. It just causes scuffs on the blade, which looks bad. But I mean, it holds the knife in. But from an aesthetic standpoint, I'll apply less pressure here on my Kydex press. Obviously, we can still improve. There's, you know, obviously tons of improvement needed for these knives, both aesthetically, you know, aesthetic-wise and, you know, performance-wise. I think we can do some substantial improvement. As you can see there with the, you know, wood tests that I did earlier, the edges hold it up pretty fine, except for one of them. This one was not one of them, and that was Tokyo. And as you can see, I rolled the edge on the super hard eucalyptus wood. And, you know, why is this, you may ask? One thing is that the edge is super thin here, and I completely abused it. But hey, it's a test. It's a test. I want them to be able to, you know, withstand that kind of abuse. And honestly, whacking the edge on a, you know, super hard piece of wood, it is abuse. But then again, I want them to survive that. As you can see, how thin it is here. You can see that. Yeah, it roll over. But the thing is, you know, I want my quality to get higher, and we're gonna get higher. Also, the logo will be improved. It will be larger, because right now it's too small. So yes, do I call this a prototype? Yeah, I call this a prototype. I mean, prototypes is something I don't sell. That's one thing I say to myself. If it's a prototype, I ain't gonna sell it. The edges here held up fine though on the ringer and on the RE1. And I don't know if it's because these are thicker stocks than the Tokyo knife, but this is the knife I want to take into the front line and make it my main model. But I'm gonna have to improve on this. I'm gonna have to see what I can do for the, you know, edge holding capabilities. So maybe I could use a spring steel or something like that. But as you can see, it just can't handle it when it's grounded that thin. If I tempered it a little bit, you know, a little bit less, it probably would have just chipped, and that's not a good thing. We want it to roll over, not chip. So, you know, blade roll over there. Also, this is a Scandi edge. I didn't put a secondary bevel in this one. I wanted this one to be as sharp as possible. So yes, this one is not good for chopping. But I don't know, that's probably just that model. This one survived it though, the ringer. I mean, this is a pretty thick beast. RE1 also survived, but, you know, Tokyo did not survive. It's a hell of a long way since, you know, back in the day with freaking Woodlands trying to sell the house. I remember when I was trying to sell that house, I had this business idea all the time in my head. I was hungry for it, I was thirsty for it. And now that we're finally here, you know, all the money's here, I got all my equipment. All there's really left to do is to just make them. I have, you know, this is the year's plan. Get this Rivera edge blade, get it perfect. Not perfect, but get it to a sellable level. And I think it's only gonna take me maybe a couple of months, maybe one more month until I can get it to a sellable quality, because as of now, they are usable if you don't abuse it like what I did. I really got to work on my fit and finish, and, you know, do some tweaking with the heat treatment, because I know, you know, sometimes you can get a really thin edge and make it, you know, tough. But, you know, trial and error, it's all trial and error. No excuses though. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm probably gonna make another video on how I talk about this design here. So, see you guys later. But it's steel. Ow, motherfucker. Oh shit. Damn, okay, that's in there pretty good. Take a look at the edge. The edge bent. So taking all that, it's pretty good actually.